The story you're about to hear is the story of Adam Mohamed Bashar. He's an interpreter working in a refugee camp in Kenya. Brian and I thought that this is an important story to hear. We had some technical issues while recording this podcast because Adam was basically just using his cell phone in the dark, in the middle of the night, to talk to us. If you feel compelled to give to international organizations to help people like Adam who are trapped in refugee camps all over the world, we encourage you to do so. But for now, let's listen to Adam's story. Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Found in Interpretation Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alain Breton, and I'm here with Brian. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. Sun is shining. Finally, we've had some terrible winters. This winter's been terrible, so I'm glad finally the sun is out.
All right. We may have some technical issues here from the very beginning, but let me explain. We're here accompanied by Adam Mohamed. Adam Mohamed is actually a Sudanese refugee. He's currently in the Darfur region, living in Kakuma Refugee Camp in Kenya for more than 13 years now. And he's an interpreter at the UNHCR Kenya with over 10 years experience working in interpretation and translation. So right now, if I'm not mistaken, Adam, you are in a refugee camp, are you?
Yep, I am. I'm in a refugee camp called Kakuma Refugee Camp.
All right. Can you tell us how you got there, how you got interpretation? Can you tell us a bit about your story?
Well, thank you for hosting me here today, Brian. It was my pleasure getting you, and I'm extremely happy to see you here today. And Alan, thanks for joining us, and thanks for hosting me today. It's my
My
pleasure
pleasure.
getting to know you, and I'm really sorry because here sun is running against the night. The night is going to defeat the sun at the moment. So we're in a dark place, and I'm sorry I don't have electricity. So to come in about myself and a little bit of story. A Sudanese from Darfur regions, as I have played my home country in the year 2003 when the war and the genocide took place by my country government of Sudan, and it made me to plead to the internally displaced IDP camp in Kalma IDP camp in South Darfur. Some years later, in the year 2002, the government again committed a genocide within the IDP camp, and I was supposed to flee, whereby I was supposed to flee and I lose my parents during the genocide, my mom and dad. And I got separated with my siblings. Uh, Sisters and brothers, and I had to flee all the way to leave my home country to seek for the British, whereby I will be protected in a safety place. And unexpectedly, I found myself all the way in my journey to Kenya, where I have arrived in Kenya on July 2011. Up to date, I'm still in Kakuma Refugee Camps, and I was hosted by the government of Kenya and UNHCR and registered under their mandate as a refugee premier party who played the home of Sudan as a war victim. So therefore, I stayed for a couple of years in Kakuma Refugee Camp, and then fortunately, I got an opportunity to apply for interpretation jobs at UNHCR, Higher Commissioner for Refugees in Kenya, and that was exactly on 5th of January 2015 when I have joined UNHCR to work as an interpreter for four language and Arabic.
Did you have any training as an interpreter?
Absolutely, I did. After I have joined, and I was very curious. In the beginning, we were talking about 2 days away from the compound, and we had an interpretation training on how to interpret in the humanitarian daily lives and absolutely in the refugee context, in the resettlement units, protection units, and in RSD, I mean that the refugee state determination unit and registration unit when new arrivals are hugely played from different countries who speak different languages, and we have to deal with how to interpret it accurately in that process.
Now I noticed that you're well, the viewers will notice that you're in the dark. This is because there's a power outage right now in your neighborhood, so it's very difficult for you to use a laptop without any power. So we're doing this from your cell phone. Do these power outages happen often?
Extremely at my home, to be honest, I don't have any power at all. I just use during the daytime. I have to go and charge my laptop and as well as my phone, and then I have to come and use it at home. But today, I didn't charge my laptop because it was a little bit rainy and we use solar panel, so that's why we don't have much power at homes. But my neighbor home somewhere else, like a kind of 100-meter away, they have a power. It is a solar also as well. But for me, definitely, I don't have. As you can see all around, you can't see any light over here.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't see,
I'm really
so we can
sorry.
just
I'm in the
imagine.
refugee camp. I'm in the city.
No, no, no. If I didn't think about it, but I feel bad now because I think that we should have been in our evening, and you should have been in daytime.
Oh, that's pretty cool. We can still have another time, some time to come.
Yeah.
As
Definitely.
long as you're connected, I feel.
So if I understood correctly, did you say that you lost your parents in Sudan?
Yes, I did. First of all, I lost my mom when I was 14 years old in the year 2004. She was killed into genocide when the spring of the war broke out in the Darfur regions by the Genocide militias who were approximately supported by the counter government known as my country government. And then in the year 2007 is whereby I lost my father in the IDP camp when another second genocide took place.
So it's due to genocides.
Yeah, so
Um,
at the moment I'm just parentless and siblingless. So approximately I have more than 30 years without parents and siblings at the moment.
I'm really sorry that it breaks my heart.
Oh, sorry, it's not my, it's a part of
Um,
life
but
anyway.
I'm also happy that you found your way through the UNHDP and you're a part of their program as an interpreter.
Yeah, sure. Though it is not that even happy, but it is at least better than because I'm still alive, thank God. And since I'm working with the UNHCR for over these 10 years, serving them as a refugee at the same time and as a refugee interpreters. Uh, in fact, I have gained so much, in terms of interpretation because I have worked with so different international organizations and different national staffs with different units as well as in IOM, International Immigrations organizations. So I work with them and I have to interpret. You know, being an interpreter is not an easy job. It's really hard and it's really putting someone in a trauma issue sometimes, you know, when you are interpreting a story that is coming across very similar to your story that you have passed through, it's really painful, but it needs someone to be a professional since we have been trained and I have been trained as well. So I have to focus and be professional on that because it is my responsibility to make sure all the interpretations on the word being expressed has been interpreted accurately without subtraction or deduction. So that is how interpretation always used. But situation is really hard, even though the stipends that have been paid is not something that somebody can say it's payment. It's just for transportation. Imagine a whole month being paid $60 in the refugee contest,
How
and that
much?
is $60, $60, 60.
$60.
$60. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
That is for a whole month, and I have to pay within that 60. I have to, you know, subtract from my transportation, from my lunch and breakfast, and I have to work from 8 to 5 p.m. throughout. That is a full day work.
So how's the and you speaking of your day, how what does a typical day look like?
Well, my particular day is really boring, friendly, sometimes, and sometimes it's so
Really?
traumatizing. It is sometimes it's
Yeah.
boring, sometimes it's traumatizing, sometimes it is a little bit rarely, because I have to interpret or explain to you into details. First of all, when I say it is sometimes boring, is that when I go to interpret, I interpret to people to whom I don't speak their language, but I speak the Arabic that is bringing us together. First of all, cultural background is a problem sometimes, even though we are sharing the common language. So sometimes a client who speak on her or his behalf getting in a mood whereby trying to narrate the story and losing the family back home and coming all the way. It's really hard. When I try to step in and interpret as the first person, I have to take out it is my own story interpreting the case to the third person, which is an interviewer. Sometimes I have to pause in a second. And when the story is very similar to me, I have to ask the caseworker that, excuse me, I need like 5 minute break, if you don't mind. And the reason is
To
that
rest.
because the reason is that the story have touched my own personal story. If the client is narrating the story that they lose their parents during the war that took place, parents were killed, siblings were killed, or either slaughtered, and I personally I feel like I'm in that situation at the moment, so I have to request for like 5 minute break so as to go and free up.
You relive the moment in your mind.
Absolutely, and then I have to be back again. But in some way, it is hard to quit because, like for example, when interpreting for a CIS cases, particularly, I have worked with CIS embassy here in Kakuma in IAM because they have resettlement cases. So when I'm interpreting, there's no way to take a break in some way because if I try to feel emotional, then I have to lose control in interpretation. So I have to have good confidentiality and fix myself as a professional interpreter and accept all the sequences and interpret accurately to the case so as the client has to get his or her own decision successfully.
So my assumption, if I hear you correctly, is that you're working 8 to 5 every day by yourself, basically.
Sorry, I just missed out the last word.
Oh, sorry. I'm just wondering, you work 8 to 5 every day by yourself, interpreting?
Okay. Well, in Kakuma, there are multiple interpreters, but when it comes to my country entirely, within Kakuma Refugee Camp, we are only two interpreters who serves over more than 13,000 Sudanese refugees, only two interpreters. Um,
You said 3 interpreters?
two, one, two.
2.
Two.
Okay.
Two interpreters for 13,000 Sudanese refugees. Wow.
Wow, it must be overwhelming.
More than overwhelming because for me, since 2015 up to 2018, I was just serving alone. Per day, I have to interpret more than 5 or 4 cases at least in a day. Sometimes when I
Wow.
get home, I totally get tired. I don't know what even to do. I forget to even have my supper sometimes because of tiresomeness. I have to walk all the way from UNHCR headquarters in Kakuma to my home. Sometimes it takes me more than 45 minutes footing. Sometimes I have to get a lift whereby I have to pay for the motorbike, which takes me like at least 15 to 30 minutes away riding motorbike to reach home.
Okay, wow. That is sudden day. Like I feel like we're a little bit spoiled in
A
Canada.
bit? We're
A bit.
completely spoiled here. Forget
Yeah.
about it. I can't even imagine the disparity and the difference here.
I know where you are, and let me tell you the realities. As an interpreter, having been working for UNHCR for over 10 years, the story that I come across, the plan that I have interpreted for, more than 80% have left been resettled to the United States, Canada, Australia, and in UK, Norway, Switzerland. At the same time, I don't have a leave. It is something surprising. You can't imagine that working throughout a whole year, you can't go for a leave for a single day unless if you are sick and you have to take permission.
To go on leave.
Uh, there's no
Wow.
To go on leave.
to go for break. Yes, there's no
Exactly.
way to go on leave.
Oh.
I mean, like you have to have 15 days at least or 1 month for a break to bring out, like to free up yourself from the tumor. There is no way.
Yeah.
Because I'm only one. I don't have any backup. That's the only challenge.
So are there interpreters in other languages as well, or just in your language combination?
Sorry? Brian?
Can you tell us about your language combination?
Yeah, your language combination and other people's language combinations.
Oh, well, first of all, for me, I do interpret three language. I interpret four language FUR, that is from Darfur. If you divide Darfur into two, the first word written FUR, that is my tribe and language at the same time. I interpret four language. I interpret Arabic Sudanese and Arabic Classic at the same time. Um, the other interpreters, we have them in UNHCR compound. They do interpret, like we have Somali interpreters, we have South Sudanese interpreters, we have Burundian interpreters, but they have backup. In those countries, you can get at least, if it is pure, you can get three interpreters in one language. Three interpreters in at least, those are very few. But in my particular country where I come from, I don't know what is the policy behind it. Either there is disqualification because people, not everyone speaks English who come from my home country. Mostly they speak Arabic and other mother tongues. Perhaps that is the main challenge. There people do apply, but no qualification accepted. So I thought that is the issue. Sometimes I do think that because of budget issue, they do always say there's an issue with the budget. I don't really believe in that, but that's what they do say. So with those other interpreters, we spend day together, but we spend very little time to chit chat because we're all busy interpreting. In the rooms, a person is spending more than 3 to 4 hours in one room just interpreting.
So and where did you learn English?
Well, I learned English in my home country, Darfur region, before I flee.
Okay, so in Darfur, you were speaking English, and then a couple of dialects of Arabic. That's
Arabic.
impressive.
Well, sorry, point traffic. Well, in my home country of Darfur or Sudan, where I come from, we have two official languages, English and Arabic. Even though majority of the people, like 80% speak Arabic, only 20% can speak English. So even English is being subjected as official language. But for me, I particularly went to English schools when I was an IDP in IDP Kalmakam. If you Google what IDP Kalmakam, you can get more about it in the region. So I have gone to English schools, and that's where I stepped to learn English language. I had my English courses up to diploma, and that's where I learned English. When I came to Kenya, I have never gone to Kenyan schools to study English.
Now, how far are you from Nairobi?
3 days from here, where I am.
3 days. Okay.
Yes, that is some time back when there
3
was,
days driving?
yes, some time back. It's like a couple of years ago, 3 days driving. But last year and this year, they mega is Tamag Road. So it is takes 2 days from here to
2
Nairobi.
days.
It reduced
So,
1 day.
can you tell me about the setting when you're interpreting? It's not. It's consecutive interpretation. First of all,
Absolutely. I do interpret consecutive and simultaneous as well, but most of the interpretation I do, it is consecutive interpretation.
and it is you find yourself in a room, and there is someone asking questions. Can you help us imagine the setting?
Okay. Well, we have available kind of settings of interpretation. One, it have triangle setting in a room where an interpreter and an officer and a client is praying together in one room. An interpreter stays at the bridge. When I say interpreter stays at the bridge to communicate, I mean that we say a triangle. Our client has to look at the officer or at the interviewer. One interpreter is in between, opposite to the applicants and opposite to the officer, in between, just aside. So, with a triangle. So, an interpreter at the moment had to listen. But before all this, an officer has a role to play before interpreter says anything. When conducting an interview, it depends what sort of interview it is. Is it a registration interview for the arrivals or asylum seekers? Is it a re-registered determination interview known as eligibility? Or is it a resettlement interview? Or is it a protection interview? Or is it child protection interview? It depends upon the setting again. So, if let me tell you a little bit about. I can talk about resettlement because I focus mostly on resettlement, and that's where I have been working all throughout. So, and protection unit. In the resettlement unit, it depends upon the cases. If the clients are more than 5 individuals, that is family size 5, so the officer has to call them all in one room. They have to have a seat, all of them, children and the parents. The head family, I mean the principal of the cave, has to be given the first chair to sit in on, and then the officer will take the role to play. Officer will welcome the clients in the room and will start introducing him or herself as the first person. And then after that, we'll introduce the interpreter to the clients. And also will give a choice if the interpreter want to disclose his or her name or not. But in most cases, due to the security matters, I don't introduce my name. I usually say I'm an interpreter and I will be your daily interpreter for today and not for tomorrow. So so
Okay.
after all this, now
Is
our
it
officer.
safe that we publish your name on our podcast?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I'm free to do so. Yeah, I'm free to do so. Because it is a part of my life experience that I'm expressing.
No, but the
Yeah,
name's
sure.
written.
The name's written. Don't worry about it because I'm not in the interpretation room. I'm in a room where I'm explaining or talking about my life experience as an interpreter. You don't have to worry about that. I gave you the guarantee to publish it or the
Thank you.
permission. So in this scenario, the officer takes time and says, as this is our interpreter for today, his role is only to interpret what the officer or the client is saying. An interpreter has no role to play. His work or how is only to interpret and translate the necessary document needed. Has no right to access any information about the client's case, has no right to make any decisions against the client's case, and has no right to disclose the information after the interview. All what has been spoken during the interview should be kept confidentially and should be kept as in between 3 people. Only the authority person, like officer or the interviewer, had the right to disclose the information to the higher authority responsible for reviewing the cases, like government authorities or the government officials and UNHCR officials. That is Walker.
And the reason why there are these interviews, is it to build cases for the International Criminal Court? Is it for understanding a situation? So, what's the objective?
Well, we have. Let me tell you, and I will give you the basic how it started to the end. First of all, um, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. First of all, we have pre-interview. The first interview when a refugee or asylum seeker enters to the host country during the very beginning, where the asylum seekers has to represent and explain his or her journey a long way to the home country to the host country, the reason leaving the home country, and why and what happened and when and where and who are involved in the situation that made the client or the asylum to flee the country to seek for protection. What are their expectations in asylum country? So
Is it kind of like an interview?
yes, this is a basic. This is for registration before you are accepted as a refugee or asylum.
Okay.
Now that is for registration in the beginning. Now when we come to resettlement interview, in the resettlement interview, the officer will go through the full details of the clients one by one, starting individually from the first applicant to the second applicant. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes, we can follow perfectly.
Okay, so in that scenario, the officer will ask the clients, especially those who are 18 years and above, will be asked questions individually, expressing themselves why they leave their home country. That is first question. When they leave, why and when did they leave the country? Where did they flee? How long did the journey took from the country to the host country? The parties went through, the means combined, whether through the public vehicles, on foot, or the airway, the airplane. So there are so many ways to be asked the questions for the clients. So the reason for the clients why couldn't go back to her or his or home country. The reason. Okay, if the client should be taken to the home country of origin, if the peace occurred, what are they afraid of? Are they afraid to be killed? And if so, who will kill them? And why? Why the rest of the people are there in the country and are being killed? You as individual as asylum, depending your case, fleeing the country, explain the reason. Perhaps the client will say, I can't go to my home country because my ethnicity is being subjected by my country government because they are the majority and perhaps they are the most educated. And because they are origin of the land, that's why the government is against them, killing them, raping them, and making them to be tortured. So this is how the interview takes place in the resettlement country. During the UNHCR interview, this is the first interview and the second as well. After they have done with this, there is an agreement form to show that the client had accepted to do the interview and it's accepted that his or her case to be processed to the resettlement countries. Let's say we are in Canada today and the Canadian government is in Kenya conducting resettlement interviews for refugees to be resettled to Canada. Now the Canadian government as an embassy on the ground has to be offered as upward information to get a specific information from the clients, the ethnicity, the language they speak, whether the parents are both from the same clans or from different nationalities, different backgrounds, and if they are from the same or both clans, where are they oriented?
So the objective of a resettlement. So the objective of a resettlement interview would be to determine whether they should be staying in the refugee camp or going back to their home country or going to, say, another African country or going to Europe or North America. Is that basically what it entails?
Well, the resident means it doesn't rely on whether the refugees to be resettled to their African or Asian country. Most of the resettlement cases are taken during. There are three consequences. One, if asylum seekers or the refugees country is not safe to be taken back and it's not eligible to be integrated in the host country, then they have that opportunity to be taken to the third country. Like for me, I'm a Sudanese from Darfur region. My country, all the world is witnessing, is not safe at the moment. And it is not safe for me to be integrated in Kenya because in the hosting country where I am, the environment perhaps is unneeded securities with the host country citizens. It is hard for me to survive here. Then my criteria have been accepted to be resettled to the third country in Canada, for example. So my case will be I will be interviewed by the UNHCR. Then the UNHCR will submit my case to the Canadian government. 2 to 3 months later, I will get a response, whether it is positive or negative. That I mean, either I am qualified to be resettled to Canada or I will be rejected by the Canadian government. That the criteria doesn't fit to be resettled to the Canadian government. If I'm accepted, then I will get the congratulation later or the acceptance later, which means that my case is successfully accepted by the Canadian government and I will be contacted by the Canadian embassy, but I will be set for an interview in a certain days on in a certain days sometime to come. That's how the resettlement interview is. Through the UNICEF collaboratively with IOS.
Okay. When you talk, just to help us understand and imagine, because we have no idea about the reality of where you are. When you talk about integration in the society, I'm sure that people who are listening will think that it's easier for someone from your region to, let's say, integrate in Kenya than it is to be in Canada, no?
It is not easy. The reason why it's not easy, first of all, um, let me say it is me who is going to be integrated. I didn't plea my country to be integrated in Kenya, and it wasn't my interpretation to be in Kenya. That's one. Two, the country where I am hosted itself, the citizens themselves are not well served, well protected. I mean, the
Of course.
environment where I am living, there is very low quality of education. Very little. I will talk to you about the food that I'm receiving every month here, and the food that I'm receiving. You see, the food that I'm receiving, again at the same time, the water that I'm receiving, the shelter that I'm living in, all those are not suitable for me. You see, so first of all, I usually receive only 3 kilogram of food per month. Imagine
Like
what is
3 kilos
that?
of rice or 3 kilos of what?
Half kg. Okay, 1 kg and a half of rice, 1 kg and a half of sorghum, and
Sorghum. Okay.
yes, and 25.0 cooking oil. This is the only 3 food items I receive in a month for 30 days.
In a month?
A month.
So 3
What if you
kilograms in
were
total
here?
of
What should be your
sorghum and
imagination?
Do you have family to feed with that food?
I do. I have. I can send you. Okay, I can send to Brian the picture on his WhatsApp later on when we are
So
done.
we'll see if we can reestablish the connection. Brian, so far, what do you think? How are you feeling?
Wow, I'm overwhelmed. It's something else to listen to this. I have so many more questions too, so I hope that we can get them back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly touching, and I don't know, between you and I'm not sure if I'm gonna. But when I think about our working conditions are. Oh, we'll wait until he comes back. But when I see our lives that we have, the comfort that we have, our working conditions that we have, not to say that we should, like, I don't know, be different than we are now. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, honestly. I'm the reality of everyday life over there.
One of the things I do want to ask him is like how we could help, like how we can,
Yeah, I thought about at the end asking.
Yeah, but maybe we go. Oh, hello, Adam.
Yes.
Hello.
Adam.
You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can. Yes.
Yes, now we can. Yes. I'm completely sorry. It is network interrupting. It is network.
Hey,
You
don't be
have-
sorry. I
I'm
mean,
so
come on.
sorry.
Come on.
Thank you. Thank
Don't be
you.
sorry.
We are good to
Please,
go.
please.
Sorry. Please. No, the situation when I am my brother, so you can't believe in.
So we were talking about whether this 3 kilos of food that you were getting, whether this fed your family or just yourself, or how does that work?
Okay, honestly, I don't have a family at the moment. I'm just alone. As I have already told you, since 2004 up to date, I don't have any close relative to live together with in Kakuma Refugee Camp. So I'm only alone from my home, where I come from. But there are other Sudanese and other refugees from other countries where we are living together. So, but in my home, I'm just alone as a single person.
And just to describe the actual refugee camp, when you say like you have a home, like what does that look like?
When I say that, sorry.
That you have a home, like that you live under a house of some sort. Can you describe that?
Oh, yeah, surely. Okay, the house where I'm living in is a shelter constructed with orange sheet that I have been given by the UN in 2011. So, in the beginning, we were given tents, but later on, we were given orange sheets, which contains of 12 pieces. And then that is now my room. I mean, it is my home. It's like kind of plot. Then I have a room in, and I sleep in, and I cooking.
Okay, and then the refugee camp, is it surrounded by a big fence, or what's the border?
No, okay. Well, this refugee camp where I am, it is in Western Turkana, in Turkana West. It is the largest refugee camp perhaps in Kakuma Refugee Camp in Kenya, or in across Africa, I can say, because the
Oh.
camp where I am living, it has approximately more than 300,000 refugees from different nationalities.
300,000?
refugees from more than 21 countries. It has 21 countries refugees.
Jeez, it's like a small country.
Yeah. It's like a small country, right?
Absolutely. It's almost a small country.
Yes. And now, since there's no fences, is there wildlife? Like in Kenya, there's a lot of wild animals, no?
Yes, there's a lot of animal, but we're so far from it. The region where we are, it is the Turkana region, and it is a semi-desert.
A semi-desert. Oh,
There
okay.
is a very rare rain. Rain comes only like twice or three times in a year.
Oh, that's why you have the solar panels?
Yeah, and it is semi-desert at all. Sometimes a way is too much dust. You can't even see your friend like 100 meters away with dust. But
Like
at
a
least
sandstorm.
last year and this year is a little bit better.
Wow.
I've got a question. I read when you sent us your bio that you've created 2 films, and you're also a
Absolutely, yeah.
photographer.
Absolutely,
So
sure.
can you tell us about the films, and can we publish them to our audience, and how can we spread what you have created?
Okay, first of all, thank you for that is a very beautiful questions. Thank you for asking that questions. First of all, when I created the first film, I didn't create by myself. We were a group of individuals, meaning that we were a group of interpreters from different nationalities, and we had an opportunity to conduct the research, which is one of the anthropology called Loricon Research, who is from United States of America, and we have been doing a research about the interpreted daily life in Kakuma Refugee Camp. This is took place in the year 2021 when we get to know each other with Professor Laura. And unfortunately, it was, a various time where the corona broke out, and it was very hard to be on the ground together. We have to work 3 days in a week, and we have to meet on Zoom 2 days in a week. She is based in the United States, and we are conducting the research in Kakuma. So we have to meet twice in a week, and ourselves we have to go and conduct interviews in the refugee context during the research with the other community and the interpreters in the camp. So during this research, a long way with the professor, Conraiser, we had a story and say, since we are interpreters from different nationalities and working for humanitarians, and yet we are not being valued as professional interpreters. So, why couldn't we conclude the research after 1 or 2 years with a film and we make it as a fiction, not as a documentary, because of our safety and security? So, Professor agreed and said that's a great idea, and that's where the idea come from. So we have watched several movies and videos somewhere, and then we come up with the idea, and that's whereby we have to invite Professor Lurer to come to Kakuma and sit together with us to conduct this film process. So, and it was her first time to come to Kakuma ever. Even though she's not a humanitarian, she say, she's on anthropology. So it was her first time to come to Kakuma, and we told her, since you're in Kakuma with us together, now during this film, we want you to act as an officer in the film. She accepted, and we played the role. I was a photographer, and I worked as an actor at the same time. And I worked as a logistic manager at the same time in the film because we had a kind of challenges lead to your finance issue and lack of crew members and actors. So we have to represent ourselves, and we created kind of, some stories about the interpretation daily life in Kakuma and how interpreters have been treated, the way they live, and why they are not valued. So, and then we make a film called The Bridge. We screened this film called The Bridge several times across
The
the
bridge.
world, in Geneva twice, and in the United States, and also in Middle East, in Myanmar. We have screened it also, and Yeah, and we created in Kakuma. So film is not mine alone. We are a team, and we form an organization called Photofilm for Change. After creating a film immediately, we form an organization called Photofilm for Change, which I'm one of the co-founder, and I have two other colleagues. We are three. So if you're interested in a film, I can consult my team and then we can share together the link and then you can watch. The second film we just made it last year and we finalized it this year called the Incentive Lever. When we say incentive lever, we mean it. And I believe if you watch the both films, you will go crazy and you will get surprised how the entrepreneurs have been treated and how the incentive workers have been treated in Kakuma.
Wow.
So, why did you call it the incentive labor?
Odi, the first film called The Brick, and the second film is a documentary. We call it Incentive Labor. The reason why we call incentive labor, I don't know if you have incentive workers in your home country, but here in government we have a kind of category or policy being used by the organization called incentive labor. Incentive labor is a title that given to the refugee workers who are working for organizations or NGOs within the camp, and they call them incentive because they are not entitled to be paid more than $100. And that is the reason they
A
call
month?
them incentives. They don't pay them more than $100
A month, right?
a month. Yes, a month.
Okay.
Brian, a month. I mean, so we call it incentive labor. The reason why, there are some incentive workers who work in the I personally am a social worker at the same time, but the money that we are being paid as interpreters as incentive workers across the camp, you will find an incentive refugee worker who has a diploma or a degree being paid $50 or $60 in a month and works throughout as a nurse, as medical assistant, as a doctor, as community health promoter, as social worker, as like any other receptionist, as a registration assistant, as an interpreter. So this is the
Wow.
reason why we call incentive labor to bring up and call upon the international organization to listen and respect and follow the the international law that all the incentive workers in the refugee context should be paid equally. We have, for instance, the reason why we call incentive labor is because a refugee being paid $50 who has a diploma or a degree in a certain career, and a national who has a diploma certificate in a certain career, and they perform the same duties, and a national being paid 2,000 USD per month, an incentive worker being paid $50. Is that a humanitarian work? Is that a fair?
It's not fair.
No, that sounds like volunteer work almost. Like forced volunteer
Right,
work.
the reason. And then UNHCR itself, as I'm working for UNHCR myself, I have a diploma in social work. I have a certified certificate as a mediator for peace building and conflict resolution in leadership. I have a certificate in interpretation for more than I did training for more than 6 months at Geneva University online and also in person, but yet I'm still being paid only $60 in a month, interpreting for more than 6 or 3 units with different clients. I don't have a lead. I don't have, like R&R. I mean that rest and relaxation. I don't have a motivations. I don't have allowance. I don't have a lunch. I have to rely on this little food and this little incentive that I've been paid, known as $60, which is just perhaps is a large money in your country. I don't know.
No, it's not a
So,
lot
and
of
that's
money in
the
our
reason
country.
why the experience. Pardon?
It's not a lot of money in our country.
And that's why I'm saying, like, such person like me, who has over 10 years experience working with different international organizations, professionally being trained, and being paid $60 in a month. Then what about an untrained interpreter?
Yes. Now, a question for you is what can we do as your colleagues being in Canada? Or we also have colleagues who have been on our podcast from Europe and from the United States. Is there anything that is there a message that you would like to give to them as to what we can do to help?
Well, my message is as an interpreter, I send this message on behalf of all international interpreters and humanitarian interpreters working across the world, whether in Europe, in Africa, in Middle East, in Asia, or within the refugee context, that humanitarian interpreters should be heard, should be paid equally, should be internationally and professionally trained, should be promoted to work internationally across the world. And again, there should be an opportunity for humanitarian interpreters to specialize in high standard of trainings like degree, bachelor, and masters. I don't know if your country apply that or over that, but here absolutely we don't have it. So we urge you and we ask the humanitarian organization in Canada and US and across the Europe to advocate for refugee interpreters, particularly in Kakuma and across the other asylum seekers, so that this word of incentive to be removed and to be changed into international interpreters or professional interpreters to be paid more than, because $50 in a month, it is something really unfair and it is inhumanity, because it's like somebody is insulting. If I personally came across Canada today and start begging along the road, I might get even more than $500 per month per day. Forget this $50 I'm getting a month.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, our welfare system gives you a lot more than that. I mean, here I mean, with $60 a month, you can barely buy lunch on these nowadays.
It is really something, but there's no other way, because if I stop from that work, yes, it's not my intention to stay over 10 years working and I have achieved nothing than experience. As I'm talking to you, this $50, I have to repeat again, I'm telling. I have to pay for my own lunch, I have to pay for transportation, I have to pay for my own medication, because medication here it is free, but you cannot get quality medication. If I got sick, I have to pay for that. And then at the end of the month, I'm still in a trauma situation where I'm still in need. I'm still under the debt. You see. So those are the challenges, because there's no other way to get another job out of this. And that's why I'm just relying on it, and I don't have any other support. That's why I'm just focusing on that particular work.
To help our viewers understand, you also do photography, right?
Yes, I do photography, but
So,
I'm not that professionally. So
okay.
I'm a media, in a media,
But
but
perhaps
I
if you
have
could
a
send
lot.
us some
I'm a
some
writer at the same
but
time.
if you could send us maybe some pictures of the refugee camp, your daily life, what you're allowed to take pictures of as an interpreter, and we will publish it with the link of this podcast. Because right now it's all dark behind you, we can't see. But if we can have a visual to really understand the reality of what you're going through, I think it will be very important for our viewers, and also people will be able to relate to what you're going through right now.
Wonderful. That's a great question. In some way, again, I can tell you that I'm a writer. I love writing about the photographs. Whenever I take a single picture in my daily life, I used to write about it. I have some picture that I have written about it, regarding the enterprises, regarding the situation in the calm. I will share some of you with you, about the situation that is taking place in the camp. I will share with you, and then you will probably publish it again.
Totally.
These two, yeah, again, these two documentary, one documentary and fictional films that we have made it. If you have an opportunity to screen it in a large audience, in a group, a university, college, institution, or organizations, we are highly encouraging you to invite us, and I will talk to my team, and we will set up a day or time to schedule, and then we can screen the film. We will be ready to ask and answer the QA from the audience and from the host as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I will check with our local university here, and I'll definitely follow up on this. I found your movie on the website right now, The Bridge. So we'll be able to post the link in the description as well.
Yes, and Adam, you and I are on we're hooked up on social media and on WhatsApp. So anything you need from us, you know that I'm just a quick text message away.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. On my side, let me say it, but I cannot focus because at the moment we have established a CBO uh, regarding the interpreted daily life, but they're still having challenges because we don't have fun to run the documentary film all the time. This is just only the volunteer with it. But if there are some partners or organizations that are looking to partnering with us in partnership, we can highly welcome them if there are a possibility to help us find funding or grant to apply for it, we will really appreciate it and we will share with you whatever we are because from now on perhaps we're going to be friends, we're going to be partners, who knows, but we'll be in a good connection. And I will share deeply with you all the photos that I have. I will share with you so interesting story that I have written about my daily life, about the situation that refugees are facing and interpreters are facing, particular in Kakuma Refugee Camp.
Wow, I mean, I think that we could talk for several hours, but I don't want your phone to run out of battery while we're talking, and I know there's no
No, my whole
electricity.
it still have my phone is sorry, my phone still has 57%.
Okay, well, we're going to conclude our podcast at this moment. I think we found a good timing for it. I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for taking the time to explain the situation, the reality of what you're going through. I'm sure that there's a million more things that we can talk about. We'll bring you again to the podcast, and this time we're doing it at nighttime, and you'll be during daytime, so we'll be able to see you. We'll be to see you, and
That is pretty good. Amazing. Amazing.
thank you so much
So
for participating.
it is my pleasure getting to know you. It is my pleasure getting to be hosted by you. It is my pleasure to have shared all what I have. This is not enough that I have shared with you. Still more and more coming in. So once we meet again, I'm sure that you can get more. And I know you have taken some takeaways with you today in our today's session. So Brian and Alan, so I really appreciate the time you have taken to host me. Thank you for inviting me, Brian. Particularly, thank you for introducing me to Alan. So today I'm not a guest to Alan from now on.
Well,
So
you're a
I'm a
guest for both of us,
friend
but anyway.
and I'm invited somewhere.
Excellent.
Yeah, sure. So, Alan, I will share my photos and writing that I had to Brian on the WhatsApp because I'm with him on WhatsApp, and hopefully he will share with you if he doesn't mind. Is that okay?
Excellent.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, I got
Uh,
fireworks. How did that
so,
happen?
thank you again. Thank you, everyone. Please like, share, subscribe, and everyone who's listening, you got to share this story. We'll put all the links. Don't hesitate to do some follow-ups, and we'll make this story known. And this is something we'll keep on following up. So, on that note, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Adam. And Brian, would you like to have the last word?
No, just thank you again, Adam. Thank you, Anna, for always being a professional co-host. And oh, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can get you now. I can get you
Okay.
now.
Well, no, I just wanted to thank you once more. And yes, and we'll keep in touch, my friend.
My pleasure.
All
It
right.
was my pleasure seeing you today.
All right.
All right.
Take
Take care.
care.
Have a nice time.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
You too. Thanks. Bye bye.